Hi and welcome back to the Deeper Than Expert YouTube channel. My name is Trudy, I am the founder and I'm here talking about Christmas preparations part 2. If you've not seen the part 1 video, please go into the description where you'll be able to see the link along with my blog and social media platforms. So in the previous video, I spoke a bit about gifts and communication, being able to communicate our needs to others so they're not disappointed when buying new gifts, especially if you have eczema, and also vice versa. So if you're buying for somebody else who has eczema, being aware of their needs so that you're not purchasing something such as, I don't know, a body set which is fragrance and has got chemicals in it which is most likely to affect somebody's skin. So I covered all that in part 1, and here in part 2 I'm going to be continued on from that. So a bit of the obvious ones which we all do regardless of the time of year and where we are in the world. Hydrating our body is important, because if we hydrate our body then our skin remains hydrated, but it also means constantly moisturising our skin. It is cold in the winter time, so in winter this is where our skin is more likely to flare, so hydrating our skin is very important. Another factor when it comes to preparing for Christmas and for the festive season is avoiding irritants. So with irritants, that's not just receiving a gift which is not good for the skin. It also actually means things such as certain scents. This time of year we tend to get a lot of scented things such as candles, burners, and sometimes, depending on the person, we're all different by the way, but depending on the person, it may actually trigger our eczema. So being mindful of those and avoiding those, just to avoid those flare-ups, is actually good. And there's also certain decorations and things which goes around the house which can also potentially cause irritation to the skin. So it's just about being mindful of those as well. If you live with other people and they tend to want to burn scents or candles, it's just about communicating that out and making them aware so that it doesn't irritate you in the long run. The next obvious one is staying warm, so plenty of layers, but not too much layers to the point where we're too hot, because sweat can also aggravate the skin. And I mentioned in the previous video when I was talking about Christmas jumpers, to have a thin layer underneath the jumper so that it doesn't irritate our skin, so that we can still walk around and have our Christmas jumpers and be happy. So my next point about Christmas preparation is about staying warm. And just to continue on from part 1, so part 1 I spoke about stress, because sometimes, buying the gifts, planning, all of those things can actually cause stress in our skin. So one thing I want to talk about is travel preparation. So Christmas and the festive season is the time where we might have to travel across country or even to another country in order to see our loved ones. So if you are traveling, especially if you are traveling abroad and it involves going on a plane, it's about preparing all of your clothing as well as the skincare items. So for example, making sure that you've got enough skincare products to last you throughout the time, especially if it's ones where it's prescribed. So it does mean basically going to your doctors, making sure you've got all of your creams, all of your steroids, antihistamines, making sure you're stocked up on those before actually being able to get on the plane and leave the country. And there's certain airlines, not certain airlines, I think it's the majority of airlines actually, especially in the UK airports actually, where if it's not in your main luggage, if it's in your hand luggage, you're only allowed to carry 100 mils with you on the plane. So it's about preparing for that. So it may mean decounting creams and products from the main bottle into a smaller one so that you don't lose that when going through security. Now I do find when travelling on planes, especially if it's a long haul flight, that the skin does get irritated and does dry out. So it's about preparing yourself, so you make sure you've got as much small bottles as possible to last you throughout that plane journey, and being able to moisturize as well while flying, because as mentioned, aeroplanes do have air conditioning and artificial air which is not natural, and that does cause skin irritation. So it's being able to travel and to plan to make sure that you stay as comfortable as possible to avoid any skin irritation or any stress or any flare-up. So it's just about planning the skincare if you are traveling, making sure that you do carry enough with you. So if you're away for 1 week or 2 weeks, whatever, make sure you've got all relevant medicines and that it's enough to last you throughout the time that you're away. And in the long run, that avoids all of the stress and all of the anxiety. And then the final thing I'm going to talk about is maintaining routine. So a lot of us, we've got a skincare routine. So we might have a shower, then we moisturise. We might moisturise a couple of times throughout the day if the skin gets dry. Or we might have a relaxing bath in the evening. Then we may come out, then we put all of our moisturisers on, etc. And I do find that when it comes to Christmas, I'm not sure if this is you, but I do find, particularly if it's me, because of the festive season and, you know, you're with your family, with your loved ones, and with your friends, sometimes that routine can fall a bit out of place. And I do find that happens a lot with me, not just because of being with loved ones, etc. It's a time where I'm highly likely not to be working. So it's, you're not getting up in the morning, you know, to go to work. Not most people, some people most likely to be off throughout that season. So it could mean that the routine's slightly thrown off. You know, we're sleeping a little late maybe. If you've got family, it may mean managing the children. If it's between that Christmas and New Year period, sometimes I get a bit confused and, you know, we don't know what day it is. And yeah, I just find that routine gets a little bit thrown and out of place then. So my advice in terms of Christmas preparation is, regardless of the festive season, the family, the kids that we may have, all of that, as much as possible, try and stick to the skincare routine. Don't forget that daily moisturization. Don't forget the staying hydrated. Don't forget everything that you do in order to stick to your daily routine when it comes to managing eczema. I know it's hard. I know it's easier said than done, but I think the more that we stick to our routine, then the more we'll be on top of our skin management, and then we'll be able to avoid those skin irritations and eczema flare-ups. And another factor I'm going to throw in there, as well as staying on top of the skincare routine, this is another difficult one, I know, but if you know that certain food irritates the skin, it's about being mindful of that as well. So when we have our Christmas dinner, things like that, being mindful of what you eat as well, because a lot of processed meats, a lot of sugar, a lot of dairy, a lot of wheat, gluten, things like that, those are the things that irritate you, and that's going to play a role with your skin as well. And this is where flare-ups can also come in. So it's about being mindful about what we eat over the season as well, and everything in moderation, unless you do have any allergies or any tolerances. So that's something which needs to be considered and to be put into our routine as well. Okay, so that's me finished talking about Christmas preparations. I'd love to hear your comments, by the way, so drop a comment into the comment sections. Feel free to ask me any questions, and I look forward to seeing you in my next set of videos, which is going to be about preparing for the winter season. Take care and see you then.